going to get worse for the RNC, because I don't know if you guys have heard, but Ronna McDaniel is fired and replaced by Donald Trump's daughter-in-law, who has made it. It was great because she first said that her primary goal was to use every penny donated to the party for Trump's campaign. She had to come back a week later and say, well, I didn't actually mean that. We're not actually giving all the money to Donald Trump's campaign, but they're doing something almost as good. Whenever you donate to the Republican National Committee, the Trump campaign gets the first bite. Like, no matter what you were donating for, Trump gets the first bite. And this came out because there was a fundraiser that Trump held, and we saw how the breakdown was going to go. And the fine print for the donation said that the first $6,600 of every donation from any individual or agency will go straight to Donald Trump. Like, the first $6,000 go to him. The next $5,000 goes to the Save America Political Action Committee, which is the political action committee that funds Donald Trump's legal fees. And then the next $400,000 after that will go to everybody else in the entire country. Like, Trump gets the first bite of the apple every single time. So it's not looking good. And Trump is going to suck the RNC dry. He is. He's going to drain them for everything he can. And you love to see it. And that, even if by some miracle, I don't think Trump can win, but by some miracle Trump does win, he is going to crush all of the other Republicans along the way. And I'm glad to see it. I don't know. Like, James, I'll throw it to you. What you think? Do you think Trump's making the right decision here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On it.
Yeah.
For Trump? Yeah. He's making that's the right call for Trump, man. When have you seen Trump make a call that wasn't good for him?
Yeah, say what you will about Trump, but he's pretty consistent about
He takes care of Trump. He takes care of Trump.
Trump is number one, right?
It's funny.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't know all this other stuff about the RNC and the dire state that they're in. I guess I am a little curious here. Like, I don't think. Okay, actually, sorry, random thought. You guys remember Vivek Ramaswamy's campaign finance? He was like, let's do an MLM.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was beautiful, incredible campaign innovation. Maybe the RNC needs to start doing something creative like that.
I'm actually shocked that like isn't a thing already. like that was, as much as that's like a shitty idea. It seems like,
let me get my down funnel Republicans.
Yeah, but it kind of is exactly what Trump has set up here. Is kind of an MLM. Like it is all of the money being filtered to him at the top, and it is genuinely shocking to me that like. No one. I know that we're always like, how do people not see this with Trump? But like, how do the people in power not realize that this is very bad for the party? Like the people who have the power must be able to stand up within the RNC. Like, how is the RNC so much weaker than the DNC? How is that possible? Like, the DNC rules with an iron fist, and the RNC apparently you can just install a puppet and just say, like, it's insane.
All right, so I don't jump in, Bree, before I say, because this is one of the most fascinating topics to me, where you talk about like why. Because listen, the RNC is a lot less disciplined than the DNC. It's wild to think about, but it's self-evident in what we've seen, and it's because in a weird way, it's kind of what we talked about earlier with like the super delegates and the non-democratic structure of the DNC, is that the Republicans actually take their base seriously because they're afraid of them. And so what John Lee said, like, don't the grown-ups realize it's bad? Yeah, they do. Like the intelligentsia, the media, Republican politicians outside of, 8 or 10 like crazier than normally crazy Republicans who worship Trump. They all hate Donald Trump. They have since 2015, and they know the damage does the party. The only problem is the fucking rubes that vote for them in the primaries love Trump. They love everything he stands for. So it doesn't matter if, Mitch McConnell or, Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney don't like Trump. Cletus and Jesse that are voting in the primaries are going to vote for Trump overwhelmingly every time. And another thing I remember watching a few years ago, there was a graph showing the average age for a Republican congressman and a Democrat congressman. The Republican had a lower average age. Like, they were actually younger than the Democrats, because Democrats have this. I mean, we've seen it plenty of times with, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or what was her name in California? Dianne Feinstein. How we have this this deference to age and experience and everything. It's like, oh, well, this person's been around 40 years. They must know what's going on.
What if their skin is literally melting off of their face?
Yeah,
like,
well, that's just show. That's just the battle scars. Say what, Bree?
I said that's when it's time to say goodbye. Like
no, that's when it's time to bolt yourself to your seat and never leave or anything.
It's time to give them a committee chair.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
TJ, there was something you had just said that reminded me of one of the articles about Ronald McDonald here, which was and I think it's kind of similar to Candace Owens. I think it's emblematic of the same like situation, which is on the MSNBC side. They're like have to have like this air of objectivity, of non-bias, things like that. And so it's not necessarily the worst thing for them to have like a conservative voice within the MSNBC, but like the point is also to have a voice that's going to speak to an audience for them. Because even if they want to be like pretend news or journalism or whatever, like they still also have to like find their market. And that market doesn't want to hear the intelligentsia side of the conservative right or the Republicans. They want to hear the demagoguery. They want to hear the outlandish bullshit. And I guess that's, I mean, like Candace Owens is like some like far off kind of crazy example of like trying to maintain some like discursive line and not being able to hold that. While still trying to like pander to the political population.
I think the difference between the RNC and the DNC can also be boiled down to the liberal love for institutions and the conservative hatred of some institutions. Like in general, conservatives, they at least like the aesthetic of rebellion, of that's why they're always like, oh, I can't believe Rage Against the Machine went woke. They never listen to the lyrics, but they like the aesthetic. But that does appeal to the MAGA red-blooded conservative nature, whereas the epitome of like a DNC person is I don't know, the dean of a university that like has to have everything bureaucratic, has to have everything go through the processes, whether or not it makes sense or not. And so that also is what has played out, kind of what you're saying in the media sphere with what Rana was bringing to MSNBC. Rana had the intelligentsia, the institutional ties within Comcast, MSNBC, everything that got her the job. But the funny thing that happened is that the inmates finally started running the asylum at NBC, and you've had this growing wellspring of the liberal journalists, I will say, gaining more power. Like it used to be that they just did whatever the hell their bosses told them, but now with social media, they have their own brand power and influence and can speak out against these things. And when you combine the love for institutions from the liberals at NBC and the talking heads, the number one thing they absolutely hate is January 6th. Like if you talk to hard, staunch liberals who do know what's going on, they hate January 6th more than, I swear to God, anything in the world. Like if you gave them the choice between making January 6th not have happened and having universal health care, well, gosh darn it, they're going to make January 6th not have happened. Like that is how much they hate that. And so hiring Rana was just like, well, screw you. We're going to speak out. And it speaks to the divide across all levels of this, between the split between the elites and the normals, kind of on both sides of the aisle. And it's interesting how it has played out in both ways. Bree, what were your, this is funny because like when I was researching this, I was way more focused on the MSNBC angle, and TJ, I think you were more focused on the RNC angle. We kind of just like gave this to you guys. So Bree, when we told you we're talking about Ronna McDaniels, what was your like first thought when you were looking into this topic?
Yeah, so it's funny because before I even got the topics, a couple days ago, or yesterday, I guess I should say, yesterday morning, I was watching something on YouTube, just a conversation between two MSNBC hosts, and I saw them say how awful it was that they hired her. They just blatantly said it, and I thought to myself, like, damn, they're going there, and then you kept seeing it go, over and over and over with everybody, even Rachel Maddow. So I found that very interesting. So actually, when I started doing the research here, I kind of went more the RNC way, just because I had already seen those videos. I do think that, you know, what you were talking about with the way things are kind of shifting in the news is very interesting. You know, that they are kind of ignoring the editors and the people that are in charge right now, and they spoke out and they got what they wanted, which I found very interesting.
They got what they wanted in just a haymaker, single shot blow. It was a domination. There was no conflict here. They just won instantly.
Oh well, and apparently
that's what I was impressed most.
Yeah.
About.
Well, apparently she's going to sue them. Did you hear that? That she's
she's looking into legal.
No, I didn't know that.
I'm just going to call her the I hire if she sues them.
You know, I had a lot of the same stats that TJ had about the RNC, but one of the other ones that that he didn't mention was that Donald Trump's lawyers have already made at least $76 million in the last 2 years. That's a lot of money. That is where
from
that
the
money. No, not from the RNC, just in general. So if you think about his legal fees now moving forward, that money's going to win. And that is really, really going to bankrupt them. I mean, what'd you say, $53 in Michigan?
53. I can't look at $53.
That's insane. That's totally insane. I read the order that it goes in, and you kind of touched on it. It goes to Trump 47 committee, which is his campaign funds. They can only accept a certain amount. Then it goes to the Save America PAC, which is, I guess it's a leadership PAC. So it's barred from spending directly on his campaign. But 89% of the money that went to the Save America PAC went towards his legal expenses, and 80 in 2023. And so far, they've spent $8.5 million this year alone.
That's crazy.
Wow.
It's not even April yet.
Say what?
I said it's not even April yet.
I know. This is just, and this is what, so what I mentioned earlier about how don't they realize how bad this is for them? What's funny to me is that I haven't tested this, but I encourage everyone to try. I am as soon as I can, is to talk to a Trump supporter and tell them, hey, do you know that, you know, the first, you know, $10,000 of every donation, so if the donation is under 10K, it's pretty much all going to Donald Trump, just to pay his legal fees and fund his campaign and not to any of the other Republicans. I don't think they have a problem with it. I don't. I think your average Republican is like, yeah, it's actually really important to make sure that Donald Trump can pay all of his legal fees. Like that's way more important to them than any random ass Republican senator, congressman.
They donate directly to him.
Well, yeah, but the one,
right?
Like, they see that as like the good fight. You know, it's this like beast legal system that's bullshit that's attacking the good name of Donald Trump. They're happy to
but not attacking poor black people. They deserve
no.
Oh yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
It's a two-tier justice system. Like on the bottom it's Donald Trump, and then on the top is just black people. Yeah, that's how it works here. Obviously, yeah.
It's clearly efficiencies, TJ. Come on.
Yeah, right. It's I did want to point out, John, I liked what you said about how the egregious part, because you're right. Like when Bree mentioned that. Like watching Chuck Todd. Chuck Todd was the first one. I think Chuck Todd was the first one that brought up that this is not cool what NBC is doing here. And he even told like the reporter that interview was like, I don't think it's cool that our bosses put you in the situation. You could see the nervousness in his eyes and hear it in his voice. Like he was like quivering when he was saying that. Like, his job was very much on the line. Still might be. They may fire him like 6 months from now for getting this ball rolling and shit. But John, that was an excellent point where you said that to liberals, the worst thing that's ever happened in American history is January 6th. I'm not saying January 6th was good, but you're right. And what's her name? Kellyanne Conway tried to make this joke last year, at the end of last year, I think. And it's when she said that, you know, Democrats wake up every day and they go to get an abortion. You guys remember when that happened and everything? Yes. But before that, what she said was, I thought if she would have just said this and left it there, I thought it would have been a pretty funny joke. But she kept going with the abortion shit. But the first thing she said was, if you're a liberal Democrat, every day you wake up and you look at the calendar and it's January 6th. I thought that was actually a pretty good joke. I thought that was, because it's true. Because a lot of it is like that, they focus on the January 6th stuff. And of course, it's bad and everything. But you're correct, John. They see it as as the worst things happened in American history, and bad as it was, you know, come on, let's. But
it is incredible how they've pushed me to like defend January. Like I also agree. It was terrible. Like we should take it seriously, but you're taking it a little too more. You're taking it more seriously than much more serious things.
I think the lesson. I think they're teaching the wrong lesson for January 6th, because when I talk about how January 6th is bad. If you're talking to a conservative, they're either going to say, well, it was Antifa, you know, they'll say that, or they'll say, you know, it didn't really happen, or, hey, you know, they were just protesting and stuff, and that's the people's house. And I was like, or they'll say something like, well, I didn't hear you complain about the BLM protest. Like, okay, that's a very simple answer. You see, protesting for good things is good. Protesting for bad things, however, is quite bad. That's the answer right there. So I can think of 1,000 legitimate reasons that the American populace could storm the Capitol that belongs to them, that they own, and say, this is fucked up. We need to change this. I can think, like, the action in and of itself.
One going on right now, TJ.
Yeah, right. Like, the action in and of itself wasn't the problem. The problem was the fact that the action was held over a hilariously obvious lie that Donald Trump won the election. That's why it was bad. But, you know, the MSNBC folks are posting like, okay, the fact that the people tried to rise up, that's the problem. No, that's not the problem. The problem was that it was over a lie. And that's the lesson I think they're teaching incorrectly about January 6th.
Yeah, because like, you look at it from the MSNBC
totally fucking
angle.
Agree. January 6th as an idea, as an action, tight as fuck.
Absolutely.
Tight as fuck.
Yeah.
It was like a couple hundred people. You know what I kept thinking? I'm like, I was at one protest in DC. I was like, there was like 300,000 people. I was like, guys, we could do it.
Yeah, right.
We could do it.
You could do it right now.
It did really. That was the scariest thing about it, was that it was you just have this idea as an American where if you go onto the lawn of the White House, you're just sniped in.
Yeah.
I would never ever
Russell Crowe, what's his name? Not Russell Crowe.
The movie White House
Down or something.
White House Down.
White House Down. I don't know.
No, it was the 300 guy, not Russell Crowe.
Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler.
Yeah, because that's how I imagine. I'm like, there's literally F-35 jets all over the place, and they're ready to get.
There's trap doors with quicksand in them and spikes and shit, like a Looney Tunes.
If you got a group of 500 organized people, they could probably take the Capitol. Could they keep it? Probably not, but they could take it.
I think they were just caught off guard because they were a bunch of used car dealership owners, middle-aged white people. Like, if there had been 500 black people outside the Capitol, like, there would be dudes in Iron Man suits, but
not even riding, just standing outside and
absolutely, yeah. So it's definitely not the capacity, so they weren't expecting it. They was like, these folks are harmless, and so that's the only reason it worked. But yeah, it's true. Like, we are. John and I talk about, like, my name is Power is taken, not given for a reason. Like, I've seen history on this shit, and direct action, if you know what I'm saying, does work a lot of times. And January 6th is almost proof of that, because, like you said, it's a small number of people, and the country was in shambles for hours. No one knew what the hell was going on. But yeah,
if it was competent, organized it would have worked.
That's right.
Worked. Yeah,
but it's also because Trump didn't do anything. Right?
Yeah.
We had a president that was actually going to react to it. Like, trust me, the military would have been there so fast.
That is a great point, Bree, because I love that Trump's excuse for this is that he offered 10,000 National Guardsmen to Nancy Pelosi, and Nancy Pelosi turned it down. That's not how this works. Nancy Pelosi is not in the chain of command. Like, she has no say in where the National Guard goes at all. And second, this is Trump's defense, that he said, we need 10,000 troops at the Capitol building. Have you seen the Capitol building? Where are 10,000 people going to go? Like, that's just like a bullshit made up number that he said, because there's not room for 10,000 people to surround the Capitol building. And then when you read into like the transcripts of what happened, Trump never ordered the National Guard there. Like, he never said. Mike Pence gave the order for that. I mean, that's how wild this shit was, that Trump never even bothered to send the Guard to defend. So that's a good point. If you had a president that actually did want to defend the Capitol, they very easily could have.
The Virginia State Police were the first ones there.
Wild shit. And
that was because the governor sent them, not because the president asked.
Well, I mean, they were there already. They just weren't.
They saw a commotion.
No. I'm saying they just weren't in uniform, but they were definitely
they were just
well
attending.
represented there.
They were
Like, oh, sorry, my uniform's in my car. I'll be right back. Let me go get that.
Let me put away this Gadsden flag, and I'll come right back and like, get through this shit.
Let me put this gallows away real quick.
There were gallows there.
There were fucking
There were gallows, man. Like, wow. It's wild that it wasn't worse than it was. It really is wild that it didn't get worse than it actually did. But that is yeah, I forgot about the gallows. That's fine.
There's a documentary. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's called 4 Hours at the Capitol. Go watch it.
Was that episodic? Like, I remember that being on like Hulu or something. I thought I saw something. Okay, yeah, I did see it then. Yeah,
they probably made that so quick. It was like January.
I know, right?
9th. It was January 9th, and they're like,
9th.
"It's a fucking documentary, guys."
Watch it right now.
You know what's so funny is like all these liberals. Obviously, that was like Armageddon. You know, it's the worst thing ever. I remember also cishet white man, whatever. I was in California at the time. I remember it was on the news, and my girlfriend at the time, she's like, "Oh, look at this," and I was like, "Oh yeah." I turned it off. I just didn't give a fuck. I was like, whatever.
I hate to be a one-upper, but I got one better. I was in the army I was still in the army at the time. I didn't get out until like, I don't know, the next year, I think. And I sent a group text to some guys in my unit, and you know, that you have to be in. Or no, someone sent a group text to our unit group text and said, "Hey, there's a bunch of like Trump supporters storming the Capitol." And like 2 or 3 guys were like, "That's cool as hell. That's awesome as fuck." I'm like, what? I just were looking at this like, oh, Jesus. Like, I knew you guys were insane right wingers, but yeah, come on. Like, right out in public, you're saying that shit. So yeah, that was, I had dudes that were all for it. It's pretty wild shit.
Christ.
All right.
There's